The ancient Egyptians had a huge impact on many civilizations and cultures which allowed them to evolve. Many things that our Egyptian ancestors invented are still used by people in everyday life. Many would also argue that these inventions have shaped our world and the technology that we use today. Even how basic these may seem, without their use, we potentially would have never reached this day and age. Friends, you are watching Dani TV, and today we will discuss about 11 common objects we inherited from ancient Egyptians, the basic necessities that allowed us to evolve into today's society. Let's have a look on them. In the list, on number 1, there is ink. Black ink is one of the basic substances that people use every day, but few people wonder where it comes from. The Egyptians discovered ink produced by an octopus in 2500 BC, which they used not only to make works of art but also to write hieroglyphs. Their ink was so good that thousands of years later the fruit of their labor could still be seen in details. In the list, second is makeup. While contemporary makeup is largely reserved for women in ancient Egypt, both women and men were extremely concerned about their appearance and hygiene. People use makeup for all sorts of reasons, from being part of religious ceremonies to medical reasons. The Egyptians designed beauty products such as dermatographia pencils by mixing soot with minerals and type of ointment. Makeup was also an indicator of social class. The more color you used on your skin and body, the richer you seemed. So often like wearing expensive brands today. Third is furniture. Inside a house, from first sight, you can see several pieces of furniture that mankind inherited from the Egyptians. Objects such as the table, bed, or chair were discovered in Egyptian tombs and they probably decorated their imposing places. For ordinary people, an ordinary house had only a few baskets or crates because they did not have many personal items to keep, and the tables were used only in graves to place offerings. Number 4 is writing. The Egyptians were the first to keep a written record of their lives. Their first form of writing, the use of hieroglyphics, characterized by the use of several drawings and symbols. They used written communication to keep in touch with other people far away, to keep different kinds of records, and to control what was going on in the empire. Number 5 is paper. But of course, to do all the written work, you need something to write on. The Egyptians created the paper to write their lives, religious texts, and also for important documents. They produced paper in industrial quantities and sold it to other civilizations such as Greece. They made paper from a type of hard reed that grew on the banks of the Nile. They held it in the shape of tube and filled it with everything from literature to music and science. Also, the method of making paper was kept secret in order to keep a monopoly. Number 6, clocks. These time devices allowed the Egyptians to determine more about their environment. For starters, the sundial or the shadow clock told them what time it was depending on the position of sun in the sky. The water clock allowed them to take into account the passage of time in the evening. It was also used for various rituals during the night. Thanks to them and the sundial, it was determined which was the longest, respectively the shortest day of the year. Number 7 is wigs. Hot summers and the lack of hygiene caused lice to appear. To keep the parasites away, most Egyptians opted for wigs. They protected them from the sun and were worn by both men and women. The only ones who did not wear wigs were the priests and the workers because they could not afford to buy them. The first wigs were made of human hair or wool. The hair was also covered with beeswax so that it could be braided. Number 8 is dental hygiene products. Another area where the Egyptians have made improvement is that of oral and dental hygiene. As there were no dentists at that time, they came up with some solution to certain problems, such as bad breath. Their first attempt was not very good, leaving them with infections and cavities, so the Egyptians invented toothpaste and menthol candy. These products were made from several herbs and essential oils such as incense, myrrh, cinnamon, and honey. Today, it is part of our daily lives and an important part of dental hygiene. Number 9. Crutches. Believe it or not, crutches were actually first seen in history depicted in ancient Egypt. The depiction dates back to 1500 BC, and there are even hieroglyphs that have been discovered which state the use of crutches. People say that crutches have been invented by Thomas Fetterman in the 1950, but the invention had most probably been crafted by ordinary people or doctors even before the ancient Egyptians. Number 10. The irrigation system. The ancient Egyptians had a complex irrigation system that allowed them to water their crops during drought. They developed a hydraulic system with the help of which they could make considerable water reserves. Ancient Egypt was famous at the time for its crops for the simple fact that they had much easier access to water and could sustain their agriculture during the drought. Number 11. Glass. True masters of glass, the Egyptians created several types of colored glass as early as 1500 BC. Their skill in the art of making glass was extremely valuable in various exchanges, especially when it came to those glass beads that were believed to have magical powers. In addition, they made jars and bottles, and their blue bottles were famous for their so called healing powers. Glass became a product in high demand by other civilizations around the world until they learned how to make it themselves. Without many of what we would call today basic inventions, life would probably be very different in the sense that we as a civilization would have advanced so much. Hopefully, friends, you would have liked these new information about Egyptians. If you gained some more knowledge, please subscribe the channel and hit the like button. Thank you.